Next up, we're going to transition over to our support team. I'm sure that many, if not all of you, have worked with our support team. They are on the front lines working with you all day in, day out, and we're very excited to have them joining us today. A lot of our support team, many of them are actually based in Lincoln, so it really works out well to have them on site with us today. So come on up. We have Bridget Stack, Sean Mullally, we have DJ Powell, and we also have Eric Spitz. And we have an extra, which, you know, the more the merrier. Oh, we have Josh Grossenbacher as well. So before I hand the mic over to Bridget, and we'll get another mic set up with you guys as well, or a few, so that you can all have those. But I did just want to share a few fun stats about our support team that I dug up while doing some research on them. So I'm going to brag on you guys a little bit just to, you know, get you good and embarrassed before we turn over to you. Just kidding. There's no reason to be embarrassed about this info. So we have about 30 people on our support team. We have several of them here with us today. This includes our customer support and also our scan center reps. We have an average of over 8 years of on-base experience across our support team, which I think is really impressive. And then with our leadership team, it averages about 14 years of experience. Again, you guys have been really working and know the ins and outs of on-base. They field an average or resolve an average of 140 to 150 tickets per week. So that's opened and closed. So when you think about a group of 30 people, less than 30 people doing all of that each week, it's quite impressive. And finally, in a recent survey, we found that our customer satisfaction has been 99% over the last 7 years. So again, very impressive, and it's all about the incredible work that you guys do working with our customers. So we're gonna get into a moderated discussion. Bridget, I will get you set up with this, and I'm gonna head off the stage, and we'll check back here in about 30 minutes.
All right, so as Claire said, my name is Bridget Stack. I am a senior support rep, and I'm also our intern manager. So I do have one more position open this summer if you know anybody that needs an intern spot. And I have been with DataBank for 3 years now. I've been doing on-base support as a whole since 2012.
Hello, there we go. I'm Sean Mullally. I've been with DataBank for about 3 years as well. I'm actually a SaaS technical engineer. That's software as a service technical engineer.
I'm DJ Powell. I've been with DataBank for 3 years as well, and have been doing on-base support for 5 years total. And I'm a support engineer.
I'm Eric Spitz. I'm a support engineer. I've been with DataBank now for coming up on 2 years and about 3 months. So, yeah.
And I'm Josh Grossenbacher. I've been at DataBank for a little over a year, but been doing tech support for over a decade. And I am a cloud support engineer.
All right, so the first question that I have for you guys today, what are some of the most common questions that you field on the support line?
This one kind of got us when we were prepped for this, because there really aren't common questions. It's sort of why I can't speak to everyone, but that's why I do what I do, is that there aren't common questions. I'm really bad at being bored. I tend to react poorly to being bored. And that's what I like about this job, is that I went through, I think, my last 200 tickets when we got a list of the questions we were going to be asked, and I didn't see a similar question out of those last 200. So
That's kind of like DJ said, one of the fun parts is you're all using the same system with OnBase, but there's so many different ways to use it to accomplish the same end goal. So we always get different unique things that and that's what makes it fun.
All right, thanks, guys. So as DJ mentioned, that's one of his favorite things. So I'm gonna direct this question towards Eric. um, let's see. What do you enjoy most about working on the DataBank support team?
Bridget, I honestly, kind of going along with what DJ was saying, and Sean, honestly, is getting to go into y'all's environments, seeing how you guys are taking the same program and utilizing it so differently across the board. Uh, Honestly, getting to come in and seeing y'all's environment and learning from y'all, as well as trying to help you out. So that just makes for a fun day every day. Yeah.
All right, anybody else want to answer that question?
I know talking to customers is probably my favorite part, just because, like Eric touched on, a lot of times they're extremely knowledgeable in specific fields. So we tend to get to have good conversations about what they do day to day, and then also learn some things. Even if we know the ins and outs of on-base, it doesn't always play out the same for each customer's environment. So.
All right. So with that, with everybody having such different environments, is there any module or area that you're seeing more and more questions and requests come in for?
All right. DSing. I think modules that, not really a specific one, modules that automate processes more and more. We see a lot of workview questions. We see a lot of workflow questions because they find ways to move information around quicker with less input, than your more traditional, like, grab and text reports kind of stuff that we don't see as much anymore. Yeah.
And I know this is Sean's favorite thing to do. If you need help with your dashboards, reporting dashboards, we always hit up Sean for those ones because he is our SQL expert in training. So he might be able to help you out with those.
Yeah, I was going to say things that help with efficiency or reporting, to see kind of with workflow, how many documents moved through workflow in a day, how many documents did specific users work through over a given period. Reporting is always a big part of that and helpful information.
All right. So what do you guys think makes our support team stand out the most? And what are some of the benefits that we offer here at DataBank?
I think collaboration's the easiest word for it. If I don't know an answer, I know someone in the company will. Even if I am just starting on something I haven't seen or worked with before, definitely the strength is in our employees' experience. If I put something in support, even if I've never worked with somebody before, their willingness to step up and help out gives us confidence to help out customers.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, to expound on that, I've worked places that don't collaborate, and I've worked places that actively like anti-collaborate, and it was a breath of fresh air from day one. Like I showed up, and it was me being asked, like, what can I do to help? Like, what do you need from me? Like that kind of stuff. I think it's really easy to talk about like culture, and I think that our support team and DataBank as a whole tends to walk the walk versus just talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how you added in DataBank as a whole. Especially being here in the Lincoln office, we have project managers, we have SEs, we have cloud, we have dev, like we've got a little bit of everything here in the office. But even not just the office people that we have access to, like we talk on Slack with everybody in different departments all the time. So that collaboration is definitely the nail on the head. All right. So what would you guys say that we as a team are focused on currently? Ways that you see us evolving to better serve our clients?
Kind of like previous speakers as well as some of you have mentioned, we're on Highland University a lot, reviewing the training material and some of the newer modules. We also, we will put on internal trainings across our several teams as well for WorkView things. For example, we have a few WorkView PS resources that are subject matter experts, and we will do trainings with them to get kind of what they've seen while they've been implementing WorkView and some of the gotchas that they've encountered in their journeys developing and creating solutions.
Can you tell me how many training courses you and your sister have taken on Highland University? His sister is Hannah Mullally, by the way. She works here also.
I think we have taken many that have also been deprecated now. I think between the two of us, we probably have like 500 of the training courses that Highland offers that we have taken together. So we use the training resource very
Absolutely.
much.
And you're also doing development training right now, correct?
Yes, I kind of wear many hats, if you will. I've gone through some development training with Scott McLean on our dev team, as well as I've gone through one of our WorkView trainings that John Savaline put on for our internal team. I've also learned, along with the dashboards and things, I've learned SQL so that I can help with some of that reporting and getting some of that additional information as well.
Awesome, thank you. Josh, do you want to touch base on like the evolvement with the cloud and things like that?
Sure. I was going to bring that up. I might be a little biased because I'm in the meetings every single week. But the DataBank Cloud is really exciting just because each time we have a new customer come on, we get to learn what works for them as well as what gets OnBase running more smoothly. That leads to a lot of surprising discoveries, but every single time we do it, we get better at it. Not to mention the speed at which we can set up an environment remains extremely impressive, at least to me. The ability to take something with the customer, run with it, and it really feels kind of like reinventing the wheel. A lot of the things we do are stuff that hundreds of our customers already do, but in a new environment, there's new challenges that go along with it. But every single week, we find out new things and new ways to make it easier to use.
Awesome, thank you. Anybody else want to add anything? No? All right. Any questions from you all?
Okay. First of all, any questions from our in-person team here? We've got, ooh, I like this. We've got a few. All right, Aaron, I'm coming over to you.
So you started out by asking what's the most common problem or issue that happens.
Yes.
What about the opposite? What's the craziest or weirdest question you've gotten related to OnBase?
I spent, about a year ago, I spent 19 straight hours on a support call that involved Windows support, Highland support, DataBank support, like 8 different people from DataBank were on that call, and I was the only one who I was just running it at that point. For an API doc import issue that slowed down to like a crawl, something that should import like 1,000 documents per hour, imported about 1 per hour. And we spent 19 hours on it, did not fix it. I think I tapped out to sleep, and another support rep joined for another 4 hours. Nothing happened. So for 24 hours we did support, and it fixed itself the next day. And no one has any idea why or how or what. That is, I hope it's the least common issue I ever have.
Anybody else?
I will say, kind of to that vein, the ones that got away, if you will, you spend all this time troubleshooting, trying to figure out what's wrong, and then, oh, we turned it off, turned it back on again, hasn't happened for the last 6 months. Okay, what broke in the first place?
Okay, I think we might have a couple more in-person questions. I'm going to grab one of your mics. Thank you. Keep this. We've got, I think Elise had a question.
I actually have a couple, but one of them is, what do you do if you don't have any tickets? Has that ever happened?
Highland University.
That's what I
Right?
wondered. Yeah, I guess that was what you were going to say. Yeah, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. You guys don't have tickets sometimes? All right.
And then I also wondered about, and I mean, I am an employee, but I'm always curious about this. So when you run up against something that is not an obvious answer, like what are your resources that are available to you and how do you engage with them?
We use multiple different things. We use Slack, for example. We'll communicate either across our entire support team or across all of PS as well to see, has anyone else come across this or something similar? Or we also search through our internal KB articles. We use previous tickets as examples as well, and then Highland Community sometimes as well as another resource.
And in addition to all of that, with our ticketing system, we do have really awesome features to go and do assistance requests. So we can specify which team we need to ask a question of and put the details of the ticket, what we've tried previously, this, that, and the other. And then most times you get a response within about 5-10 minutes. So it's a really wonderful resource as well.
That's awesome. You guys do an amazing job. I guess my final question is what's the average ticket, how long is that open? Do you have an average?
I didn't look up specifically. I mean, a lot of them are open and closed, maybe a day or two. I will admit I have a ticket that's been open for a year right now. Obviously collaborating with Highland on that, but I would say most of them are closed within a couple of days.
I will add, it really depends on the issue. Some of them, like license, might take 15 minutes. And then if an issue is persistent, I have a case that I've had open over a year because we're still fixing it. So some of them can get very, very involved.
Okay, we have a couple that have come in online for you guys, so get ready. Just kidding. Can you tell us more about spinning up a cloud environment? What does that entail, and what's kind of the time parameters around that?
I feel like that's kind of from a support standpoint, I let Michael Terrybeer handle all of that, so I don't have a good answer.
I know because we have templates that we put in place. So each customer environment might be a little bit different in terms of like what needs to go into it. But if it's just a standard environment where we're spinning up access to the different applications and servers, if I'm not mistaken, we can have it spun up and functional in under an hour, if even that. Because not only does AWS allow you to scale up however much data you need, you can increase an environment from a couple gigabytes to a terabyte in a matter of seconds. We can update storage solutions, quite a bit of stuff, because they have things in place for SQL, things in place for the installs. Once we have an environment configured, you have options to get any of the individual pieces of your application with click onces sent out to customers. So it's a very quick process depending on the needs of the customer, but without any bells or whistles, it can be really, really quick.
Wow. Okay, can you talk about how you support clients with projects that recently went live, and your knowledge in supporting them after that point?
A couple things we do for projects that just finished is we'll go back and look at some of the documentation that we received from the project team, or we'll, with collaboration, we will reach out to the members who performed the project and get their take on it and see if it's something that they ran into while they were working on the project and kind of if they have seen it before with that.
Okay, next question. This person would like to know more just about your collaboration with other teams. You've talked to that a little bit, but can you elaborate on what that looks like, maybe when you're troubleshooting or how that works, basically? We know you're not an island. Kind of.
Something that's really nice is that there are members of our teams that now work with or former members of the sport team that now work on other teams. So people who like intimately understand what support can be like at times, where you kind of get, maybe a little handhold to start troubleshooting. We have specific people on support. Tyler Arnold started working in dev about 6 months ago. And if I've got, a problematic like e-form or something, and I just need someone to take a look at the syntax, just to, Tyler's always willing to just offer 15 minutes of his time to say, hey, yeah, I can take a look at that. Or, just some weird code step that used to work yesterday and doesn't today, like that kind of stuff. Working with the infrastructure team is always really cool to me because it's something that I'm interested in. So having them talk about like, how's the circuit behaving today and stuff, it's wild to me. And they're always easy to reach out to. Kind of like Eric was talking about with our ticketing system. Like if I don't know who works on a team, that's already all spun into like our ticketing system solution. So if like let's say Tyler's out today and I don't know in a magical world where I didn't know anyone else on dev because I don't bug them constantly, I could just reach out that way, and it goes to a really nicely curated email distribution group.
I do want to add, I think a really strong point as well is that support doesn't just stop at a team. If we work with somebody in, let's say, database or dev, even if it's not their issue, they're willing to dig into it and point us in the right direction. So it's never just, that's not my problem, I'm not touching it. It's, we've concluded this isn't our team, but here's who you need to go to. Here's the resources I'd suggest. And a lot of it isn't knowing the answer, it's knowing who to ask. And I think that's a really big strength we have as a company, is it's not just us helping you, it's the entire team, entire department. So,
And being support specific, we are all in the Lincoln office. So if anything comes up, we'll pop around our office wall and offer another set of eyes on things. It takes a village, essentially. Every once in a while, I'll just pop over and say, hey, DJ, can you come take a look at this real quick? Or Eric will have me come over and I'll hover over him and kind of be silently in the meeting reviewing the issue with him as well.
So guys, this is Dawn again. You talked a little bit about how, I guess the last question was about new projects, and we've talked about how you guys have reached out. Tell us a little bit about how projects are handed off to support. So we finished a team in your professional services team that implemented it. Tell us a little bit about how that process works so that you guys have all the information you need moving forward.
So we have going back to Salesforce, we generally go through most items inside of Salesforce. So what we do is myself and Grant, we are generally the ones who are looking at projects. What we'll do is we'll reach out to the PMs, we'll reach out to the solution architects, all those folks, and say, hey, what's something that you saw here that doesn't make sense, this, that, or the other? And then we have nice, easy forms that they can fill out to go ahead and put the common troubleshooting items that they were noticing. Hey, this was misbehaving. This is what we did to resolve it. And then that actually gets published on our case handling notes for our customers. So that way, oh, hey, this is a known issue. This is something that we know that we need to look out for. So, yeah.
So with that, Eric, like you said, you and Grant normally do that. So that's part of like a handoff. Do you do that for every single project, like those handoffs?
Not necessarily. There are some projects that don't require support transition. not to get too far into the weeds with it. So if it's not something that there's an actual deliverable, so if there's not an upgrade or we're not introducing a new module, something along those lines, we can go ahead and say, hey, this doesn't need a support transition. If this is just some staff hog hours just to help train y'all up on the specific modules, we'll go ahead and just get that kicked over to support because there's not anything that actually needs to get transitioned. So.
Okay, one question that we missed earlier is, what's a maintenance tip you wish all customers knew about?
I feel like that's a trick question.
There are no
I think
trick questions.
my boss is I think my boss wants to answer this. He's standing in the back over here. So I'm going to welcome up
okay.
Greg Stearns. He's my team lead. He has a good answer.
Hi, everybody. Probably IIS resets. Who hasn't run into the IIS reset that needed to be done to fix your workflow or some little minor thing like that? It's cached on the app server. That would probably be our #1 resolution to problems, right? That IIS reset. So yeah, having some sort of scheduled IIS reset for that sort of thing really helps, prevents those, first thing in the morning when all the users come in and the workflow is not working the way it's supposed to be because it wasn't doing an IIS reset. Probably secondary would be like SQL maintenance, ensuring, making sure those statistics are updated and that sort of thing. So that's what I see from getting to see everybody's cases all the time.
In that vein, I think the being proactive about resource usage, how do your file server shares look and the exact same thing, what does your memory look like for app pool usage, that kind of thing. I've noticed that we have fewer problems with people who do that, either because they use a third-party service that monitors it for them, or they just have really, really good processes in place for monthly, I review this, that, and the other thing. I just notice we have fewer quote unquote unsolvable problems with people who do that because, when your machines are in good shape and your shares are in good shape and you've got storage and memory, the problems that come up are a lot more run-of-the-mill.
Okay, one more question. Are you aware of any read-only on-base studio options?
Can I get some context?
We'll
That's what,
see.
ask these guys. I say that so often. Could you
Okay.
give me some context, please?
That's all we've got on the question. So Jeremiah, if you want
read-only.
to,
I mean,
provide a little more
everything, most
info?
everything in Studio is read-only unless you check it out.
okay.
Like you have to, like a life cycle, you have to check it out to make changes. So yeah, I would say everything unless.
Okay.
So I think the question then would be is, as a user in your user group, do you know, can we make a user not be allowed to check something out, right? Because if you have login rights to get into Studio,
Right.
can I limit it so that they cannot check something out? They can just view.
I would say if somebody is not making changes to something, it's really, I mean, that's an admin program anyways, that an end user really wouldn't have access to that. So I don't see a need for a read-only access to Studio. You could always submit an idea on community if that's something that you're interested in, right? But yeah, I don't see a need for that personally. And that's what test systems are for, right? Hopefully everybody has a test system here, right? So you can that way all of your information is there, you can look at it, and if somebody changes something on accident, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. So I want to touch on something you just briefly mentioned there, but I think it's been said many times at community lives and events like that a lot of the ideas, a lot of the changes, a lot of the enhancements to OnBase are coming from the users. So Bridget mentioned if you've got something where you can always submit a enhancement request, that's not a joke. That is straight up serious. They submit, and I think they tell us every community live, how many additions, this many thousand changes, and a certain percentage of those come, and it's a large percentage, come from end users. So if you do have ideas, submit them. And, or help, ask us and we can help you submit them.
Right, and if you do submit an idea, let somebody from DataBank know, because we will project that to everybody, and every one of us in the company will go and upvote that idea for you if we think it's a good idea, like literally everybody.
You know, I just upvote ideas.
Is there anybody else in the audience here that would like to add some questions or ask some questions?
Don, could you take a look at this real quick? Okay, so we did get some more context. So there is, as an on-base developer that is not an admin, we have no source control automation. So many times our dev, QA, and prod environment are not in sync.
Yeah. So I think we're going to have to go back to find out whether or not we can allow somebody to go into, if we could set up a user that doesn't have rights to check items out in Studio. Because I mean, I go in and I oftentimes will look through other life cycles just to see, gosh, what did I do back there again? And so it could be spawning ideas for other people, but they may not be the actual ones creating them, and they don't want them to go in and, you know, mess something up. So that's certainly something we can look into, and if not, let's put a little ticket in for that one.
Right, yeah.
And answer a request.
Send us an email, support@databankimx.com.
And we'll get that into Highland as an enhancement request, if not.
Okay, well, thank you guys. It looks like we're getting some more comments and maybe some things we can kind of circle back with on this last issue, but thank you to our DataBank support team for all that you do. Thanks for joining us today. Let's give them a round of applause.